Have you ever laid there afterward looking at him and wondered what was he actually feeling in that moment? Not just physically, but emotionally. Because here's the truth, when a man reaches his climax inside you, something much deeper is happening than most people talk about. It's not just about pleasure or passion or release. It's about vulnerability, trust, and connection. And that's where the mystery lies. Most women assume men experience it in the same way. They might a rush of sensation, a peak, then it's done. But for men, that instant holds layers of unspoken feelings. And if you've ever wondered why one man looks into your eyes afterward, while another rolls over and disconnects, it's because of what's happening internally in those split seconds that words rarely capture. See, when a man lets go in that way, he's surrendering more than just his body. He's giving up control. He's revealing a part of himself he doesn't show in the boardroom, with his friends, or even with his family. In that intimate act, he's saying, "This is me, raw and unfiltered." And believe me, most men aren't even conscious of how powerful that exchange really is. Here's the secret: the way you interpret that moment and the way he experiences it can either deepen your bond or make it feel transactional. If you understand what's truly happening inside him, you can unlock a deeper level of intimacy than he even realizes he's craving. And once you do, he'll feel something so rare, so magnetic, that he won't just want your body. He'll crave your soul. So in this video, I want to take you behind the curtain of male psychology. I'm going to reveal the 5 emotions a man experiences when he comes inside you. Some of them will surprise you. Some of them will make you nod your head because you've felt it. And some of them will completely change the way you look at intimacy forever. But one thing's for sure, once you understand these 5 truths, you'll never see those moments the same way again. Let's dive into vulnerability, the hidden side of a man in his most intimate moment. Here's something most women don't realize: when a man reaches that peak moment inside you, he is quite literally at his most vulnerable. And I'm not just talking about the physical aspect, although let's be honest, it's hard to look and control when your body is surrendering completely. What I'm talking about is the emotional exposure that comes with it. Think about this for a second. For most of his day, a man is conditioned to hold it together. He has to look confident, appear strong, and project control. At work, he's expected to have answers. With friends, he may joke and laugh, but won't reveal weakness. Even in family life, he may feel the pressure to be the rock, the dependable one. But in this moment of intimacy, none of that matters. All of those masks, the layers of armor he wears, fall away. When he climaxes inside you, he's not the guy with responsibilities, deadlines, or pressure to perform. He's just a man raw, unguarded, and exposed. And for many men, that is terrifying and intoxicating all at once. This is why vulnerability in intimacy is such a double-edged sword. On one hand, he feels completely alive, as if he's giving you access to a part of himself no one else sees. On the other hand, it can stir up fear. What if she judges me? What if she sees this side of me as weak? What if I'm giving too much? And ladies, here's the fascinating part: the way you respond in those moments has an enormous impact on how he processes that vulnerability. If you show warmth, acceptance, and closeness afterward, a soft touch, a smile, a look in his eyes, he feels safe. He thinks, "I can let go with her. I can trust her." That safety doesn't just strengthen the bond in the bedroom, it spills into the rest of the relationship. He starts to trust you with his emotions outside of intimacy too. But if he senses coldness, distance, or indifference afterward, that vulnerability becomes something he regrets showing. He retreats. He puts the armor back on, even tighter than before. And that's when intimacy starts to feel like a performance for him rather than a connection. This is why for a man, sex isn't just about release. It's a test of emotional safety, whether he admits it or not. That split second after he comes inside you tells him a story. Am I safe here, or should I guard myself next time? Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. Vulnerability is not a comfortable place for most men. It's not how they're taught to operate. But paradoxically, it's exactly what deepens their desire for you. Because when a man feels like he can be vulnerable and still be desired, still be respected, still be accepted, that's when you stop being a woman he sleeps with and become the woman he can't let go of. And let me tell you something important. Very few men will ever articulate this to you. They won't sit you down and say, "Hey, when I climax, I feel exposed and vulnerable." No. They'll show it in subtle ways. The way they hold you afterward, the way they look at you, or even the way they avoid eye contact because it feels too intense. Your job isn't to decode every signal, but to understand the underlying truth in that moment. He's offering you the rarest version of himself. And how you hold that space determines the strength of the bond you build. So the next time you find yourself in that intimate moment, remember this: his vulnerability is not weakness. It's the greatest compliment he could ever give you. It means he trusts you enough to drop the walls, let go of control, and reveal the side of himself the world never gets to see. And that, more than anything, is where true intimacy begins. One of the biggest misconceptions about men is that intimacy is just about the physical act. Movies, stereotypes, even locker room talk would have you believe it's simply about pleasure, about the release. But when a man climaxes inside you, something much deeper happens beneath the surface. For that brief moment, he feels an extraordinary connection, one that goes beyond the body and taps into something almost primal, almost spiritual. Think of it this way: the world constantly keeps us separate. He's got his life, you've got yours. He's got his stresses, his responsibilities, his ambitions. And no matter how much you care for each other, most of the time there's a certain space between you, physically, emotionally, energetically. But in that one powerful instant, he feels as if that separation disappears. The boundaries melt away, and he's not just with you, he's part of you. That sense of merging is why so many men describe it as overwhelming, even disorienting. It's not just, wow, that felt good. It's, I don't know where I end, and she begins. That's the depth of connection he feels, and most men don't have the vocabulary to put that into words. So instead, they'll stay quiet, they'll just hold you, or sometimes they'll even pull back because it feels too intense. Here's the part you, as a woman, need to know: when he comes inside you, his body is telling him, I trust her, I want closeness, I want union. And for many men, this act triggers feelings they didn't expect. It can feel like the ultimate form of intimacy, even if they didn't walk into the bedroom thinking that way. Now, you might be thinking, if it feels so deep, why don't men always act like it afterward? Great question. The truth is, men often don't know how to sit with that connection. Vulnerability and connection together can feel like too much. Some men will lean into it, wrapping their arms around you, looking into your eyes, savoring the afterglow. Others will shift, roll away, or crack a joke, not because the connection isn't real, but because it is. And that intensity scares them. But here's the secret: when a man feels that depth of connection with you, it bonds him to you in ways he doesn't even understand himself. He may not say it, he may not even realize it consciously, but subconsciously he begins to associate you with a level of closeness he rarely, if ever, experiences elsewhere. That's why certain women leave such a lasting mark on a man's memory, because he didn't just experience pleasure with them, he experienced connection. And this is where you hold immense power. If you in that moment lean into the connection too, with your eyes, your touch, your presence, you amplify it. You make him feel seen, known, and accepted at the deepest level. It tells him this isn't just about physical closeness. This is about emotional intimacy. We are in this together. When that happens, sex becomes something far greater than a physical act. It transforms into an experience of union. He feels bonded to you not just through his body, but through his heart. And that's when he begins to crave not just the sex, but you. He doesn't just want your body, he wants your energy, your presence, your soul. So never underestimate the power of those moments, because while you may think of it as just another night together, he may walk away changed, even if he can't explain why. The truth is, what he felt wasn't just satisfaction, it was connection. And that connection is what keeps him coming back again and again, not just for the passion, but for the closeness that only you make him feel. Here's the truth a lot of people miss: a man cannot fully let go in intimacy unless he feels safe. He can go through the motions, he can perform, he can act confident, but to surrender completely, to climax inside you, to allow himself to be that exposed, he has to trust you. Think about the way men are conditioned. From an early age, most men are told to be in control, to never show weakness, to always have their guard up. They're expected to protect, to provide, to lead. Vulnerability? That's seen as risky, and yet in the bedroom, in that moment of ultimate release, vulnerability is unavoidable. He's showing you a side of himself the rest of the world will never see. That can only happen if he feels a sense of safety with you. Now, safety here doesn't just mean physical safety, of course, that matters. But the real safety he's searching for is emotional. He's silently asking, if I give her all of me in this moment, will she still respect me? Will she still see me as strong? Will she hold this with care, or will she use it against me? When the answer to those questions is yes, when he feels, I can trust her with all of me, that's when the experience becomes profound. That's when intimacy turns into bonding. He's not just releasing tension, he's handing you a part of himself he doesn't give easily. And here's what makes this so powerful for women. When you provide that feeling of trust and safety, you unlock a side of him he doesn't show to anyone else. He starts to lean into you, not just in sex, but in life. He opens up about his fears, his struggles, his insecurities, things he hides from the rest of the world, because if you can hold his most vulnerable physical moment with care, he begins to believe you can hold his emotional world too. But let's be clear, when that trust is broken, it cuts deep. If he senses judgment, rejection, or indifference afterward, it reinforces every message he's ever been taught about why men shouldn't open up. He'll retreat. He'll put the walls back up, and sex becomes less about connection and more about performance. That's why some men seem emotionally detached in intimacy, not because they don't feel, but because they don't feel safe enough to show it. Ladies, this is where your influence is more powerful than you think. The smallest gestures can create that safety. A touch that lingers, a smile that says, I adore you. Eye contact that reassures him he's accepted exactly as he is. Those seemingly little things tell him, you're safe here, you can let go. And here's the magic: once a man experiences that level of trust with you, he associates you with comfort, freedom, and intimacy. He may not put it into words, but he'll feel drawn back to you again and again, not just for physical release, but for the sanctuary you provide. Because for him, it's not easy to find a space where he doesn't have to be on, where he doesn't have to perform or protect. With you in that moment, he can just be. That's what makes trust and intimacy so magnetic. It's not about technique or perfection. It's not about creating a space where he feels safe enough to surrender. And when you give him that, you're not just his lover, you're his confidant, his safe haven, the person he knows will never break him when he's at his most fragile. So remember this: when a man comes inside you, he's not just giving you his body, he's entrusting you with his rawest self. And what you do with that trust determines whether it becomes just another encounter or a memory that shapes the way he sees you forever. When people talk about climax, they often reduce it to one thing: the physical release. And yes, of course, that's a huge part of it. For a man, that physical surrender is intense, overwhelming, and deeply satisfying. But what so many miss, and what so few men will ever admit out loud, is that it's not just a release of tension in his body. It's also a release of everything he's been carrying in his mind, his heart, and his world. Think about how men live most of their lives. They're holding it together, day in and day out. He's carrying responsibility, pressure, expectations. He's trying to be strong, to perform, to provide, to never show cracks. And whether he says it or not, that weight builds inside him. He may not cry. He may not vent. He may not have healthy outlets for that pressure. But in that intimate moment with you, something rare happens. He gets to let it all go. When he climaxes inside you, it's not just about pleasure. It's about freedom. For those few seconds, he doesn't have to be the strong one. He doesn't have to be in control. He doesn't have to think about the next task, the next move, or the next problem. He's simply present, completely lost in sensation and closeness. That release is his body's way of saying, I can stop holding everything in. I can let go. And here's the beautiful irony: the very act that looks so primal and physical is in many ways profoundly emotional. Because it's not just about what he's letting out, it's about what he's letting in. He's allowing himself to feel comfort, connection, and intimacy without barriers. That's why so many men describe sex not just as stress relief, but as the one place they can truly escape. But let's take this deeper. The relief isn't only for him. When you hold space for him in that moment, when you allow his release to be safe, meaningful, and accepted, you give him something he can't easily find anywhere else. You become the sanctuary where he doesn't have to pretend. And believe me, that's addictive. That's why some men find themselves craving intimacy with one woman more than with anyone else, not because of novelty, but because of how much lighter, freer, and more whole they feel afterward. Now, here's something fascinating to notice. Some men after climax collapse into relaxation. Others might suddenly seem quiet or even distant. That doesn't mean the connection wasn't real. More often than not, it's because the release was so powerful that it left them momentarily overwhelmed. Their body says, Thank God I can breathe again. And their mind scrambles to make sense of the emotions flooding in with that relief. As a woman, you can turn this into one of the most bonding parts of intimacy. How? By not rushing past it. When you let that quiet linger, when you touch him, stay close, and remind him with your presence that he doesn't have to jump back into performance mode. You transform that relief into comfort. You make the release not just physical, but emotional. That's where afterglow becomes just as important as the act itself. Because here's the truth for a man. That release is one of the few times in life he gets to completely let go. And if he associates that freedom with you, it ties him to you in ways far deeper than he realizes. You're not just the person who makes him feel good. You're the person who makes him feel safe enough to stop carrying the world for a while. And that's priceless. So the next time you wonder what's happening when he lets go inside you, remember it's not only about his body's pleasure, it's his entire being exhaling. It's the relief of not having to hold it all in. And the more you understand that, the more you'll see why intimacy for him is not just about the moment, it's about the sanctuary he finds in you. Here's something you may not realize for a man. The moment after climax is just as important as the climax itself, because in that instant, he's not only overwhelmed by sensation, he's flooded with a cocktail of emotions he doesn't always understand. And one of the strongest of those emotions, the desire to hold on. You see, when he comes inside you, his body doesn't just release, it bonds. Chemically, he's flooded with oxytocin, the cuddle hormone, the same chemical mothers release when they hold their newborn. That's biology's way of saying, stay close, stay connected, protect this bond. So even if he doesn't realize it consciously, his body is telling him not to pull away, but to lean in. This is why for so many men, the urge to hold you afterward is irresistible. That arm around your waist, that leg entangled with yours, that quiet moment of resting his head on your chest, those aren't random. They're his body's way of saying, don't let this connection disappear just yet. But here's the interesting twist. Not all men know how to process this urge. Some lean in fully, pulling you closer, savoring the afterglow. Others might fidget, get quiet, or even distance themselves. Not because they don't feel the desire, but because it scares them. They're not used to intimacy that feels this deep. They don't know how to hold on without feeling exposed. And this is where you, as a woman, hold the power to shape the experience. If you mirror that desire to hold on, if you let the afterglow be slow, tender, and lingering, you reinforce the bond he's feeling. You show him that you're not rushing away, that you value the closeness as much as he does. And believe me, that makes a man feel something he rarely admits cherished. Because here's the truth, every man, no matter how tough he seems, craves reassurance that what just happened wasn't just physical, that it meant something, that it wasn't just a release, but a connection worth keeping. When you stay, when you hold him, when you let silence be warm instead of empty, you give him that reassurance without a single word. This desire to hold on doesn't just shape how he feels in the moment, it shapes how he remembers you. When he looks back, it won't just be about the passion or the fireworks. It will be about the way you stayed afterward, the way you made him feel safe to linger in intimacy instead of rushing back into the world. That's what imprints on his memory. And here's the best part. When he associates you with that kind of lasting closeness, you stop being just another chapter in his story. You become unforgettable, not because of how you looked or what you did in the act, but because of how you made him feel when it was over. So never underestimate those minutes after. That's when his desire to hold on is strongest. That's when you can turn sex into something deeper, a memory that anchors him to you long after the night is over. Because for a man, climax may be the peak, but the desire to hold on, that's what tells him he doesn't just want your body, he wants you. When a man comes inside you, it's not just about biology, it's about intimacy, about that raw surge of connection, about the mix of vulnerability and confidence it stirs up inside him. It's passion meeting trust, pleasure meeting surrender. And here's what I want you to take away. You have so much more power in these moments than you realize. The way you look at him, the way you breathe, the way you hold him after, it all reinforces what he feels. It tells him you're safe here, you're wanted here, your mind. And believe me, those unspoken messages echo in his mind long after the moment is over. But let me ask you this, are you really letting yourself sink into the moment too? Because intimacy is not just about how men feel, it's about what you allow yourself to feel, to express, to enjoy without apology. The more you claim that space, the more magnetic and unforgettable you become. So if you've ever wondered how deep men's emotions run in those heated seconds, now you know. And the next time you're in that moment, I want you to remember this. You're not just sharing your body, you're creating an imprint on his memory, one he'll carry with him forever. Now, tell me, have you ever noticed this shift in him after? Drop it in the comments, because your story might just be the one another woman needs to hear tonight.